My dear friends, hello and welcome to Home Practice. These days have been very new to us. We're going through something that we have never faced before. I will not go into details about that. We all have our opinions. But this bombarding information we get can create a lot of anxiety and panic. And those of you who choose isolation as well, this can increase because we stay home, we listen to the news, Facebook, information, opinions, and so on and so on. Or it can simply create boredom or depression because we are alone. And all of this together can lead us to mental fatigue. For this reason, I created specific sequence that I believe it can help with this mental fatigue. I will divide this sequence into shorter versions, which you will have the option to do individually or one after the other for a longer practice. Then I have also created a body scan meditation that you can choose to do as a meditation on its own or after your practice. I do suggest to lie after each practice a bit for 1 to 5 minutes, depending if you did the short version or the longer version of the practice. In terms of equipment, I suggest that you have to close by 2 blankets, normal blankets, 1 chair, and any chair can do, it doesn't have to be a yoga chair. If you have bricks and blocks, you can have them, yoga bricks or yoga blocks around. But because I know you're staying home and not all of you have yoga props around, a chair and the blankets will do. At the moment, I have folded my blankets. If you just have 1 blanket, 1 is enough. I just like to use 2 blankets. I think it's better. So I folded the blankets to sit. So my hips are higher. And with this, because when you were sitting in Svastikasana, we want the hips to be higher than the knees or the same level with the knees. Okay, so let's start part 1. Sit in a cross-legged position. Place the fingertips on the floor. And as you press the fingertips on the floor, lengthen the spine. When you lengthen the spine, allow the pelvis to become heavy and feel the sit bones rooting on the support or the floor. Lift the sternum and move the elbows back. Move the elbows to point back as you lift the sternum, and observe how this movement is expanding the collarbones out to the side, opening the front of the chest. Now move the elbows forward and observe how this is closing the front of the chest. And again now, press the fingertips down, lengthen the spine, and move the elbows back. When we move the elbows back, can you feel how the shoulder blades are moving in closer together? This is because you open the front of the chest, but what's happening on your upper back? Now we want to open, to keep expanding also the back body as we do the front body. So now we will move the elbows out, but we will try not to allow the shoulders to drop in. As you do that, Keep that engagement of your body and join the palms together and lengthen the elbows down. Lift the sternum and bow your head to your heart. Surrender the brain to the heart and allow your attention to move within. So we're ready. The first step to our practice is to move our attention from outwards to what is happening around us, to what is happening within us. Inner attention. Feel your physical and your mental state and observe it without trying to change it, without trying to control it. Simply focus on the natural breath, your original breath. Allowing in this way the brain to go quiet. Take this moment now to dedicate the practice to yourself. Release the palm on the thighs, lift the head, and allow the eyes to open. Stay here and observe again your physical and mental state as you are. Observe how it's already different. Fingertips on the floor and change the crossing of the legs. Press the fingertips down and again lengthen the spine and along with the spine the side body. So allow the pelvis to be heavy on the floor, lift the sternum and this time bring the arms overhead and lengthen. As you lift the arms up, extend the fingertips up towards the ceiling. Find this length on the spine. Observe if you're leaning back or forward and find your body weight resting at the crown of the sit bones. And then exhale, release the arms down. Okay, coming to standing for the first pose, which will be Uttanasana. So some of you here will need maybe blocks or a chair, yes? I will show you first how to use the chair. The chair is a very good prop, especially if you're not flexible on the hamstrings. So you start with the feet, start today with the feet as wide as the mat. Bring your hands on the chair, then slowly rest the forearms on the chair, hug the elbows on the seat of the chair, extend the spine, keep the hips in line with the ankles, so you're not moving with the hips back or forward. And rest the forehead on the chair. You want the head to be in front of the forearms. Keep the legs straight, your thighs engage. So if you feel this is where you are today, stay with using the chair. If you know that you can go a bit further into the pose, and if you have bricks, you can put the bricks one on top of each other, feet are hip width as the mat, rest the head on the blocks and the hands, the arms, the fingertips on the floor. Some of you might feel nice if you don't have any props. So again, it's the same thing. Legs are straight, lengthen the spine, release the head down.
And keep your ankles and the hips in line. The elbows are moving out to the side if the fingertips are on the floor. This is lengthening the side body, and allow the skin of your back body to release down to the floor. Press the fingertips to the floor, straighten the arms. If you're using the chair, place the palms on the seat of the chair and straighten the arms to lift up and come up into a concave back. So from the side it looks like this. Now engage the thighs, engage the legs, bring your hands on your hips and come up. Take a moment here. If you have a low blood pressure, you might be feeling a bit dizzy here, so take it easy. Take a moment. You can, if you have a wall behind you, you can go and stand against the wall, or if you are using the chair, you can just simply sit on the chair. Now, we will move into the next pose, Adho Mukha Virasana. So for this pose, you will not need any props necessarily. But if you have a brick, you might need it to rest the head. If you don't have a brick, you might need a blanket close by. So you can have it again to rest the forehead. But some of you might not need either, because the head can come to the floor with no effort. So for the next pose, bring the big toes together, so the big toes are touching, and then you separate the knees a bit wider apart. You don't want to go too wide, because you want the ribs to be resting on the inner thigh. Then bring the palms on the floor. Keep your hips heavy on the heels, and then start walking forward, lengthening the spine. Keep your gaze forward so the thoracic spine is moving into the body. Keep the hips heavy on the heels, and then bring the chin in and rest the forehead on the block or on the brick. Press the palms down and lift the elbows away from the floor and breathe. Press the palms down, not forward. Move the elbows up. Allow the pelvis to be heavy, the top of the thighs to be heavy, pressing the ankles down to the floor. Your next inhale, come up into a tabletop. You bring the shoulders over the wrist without the palms moving in or out. Then separate the feet and tuck the toes to the floor. I suggest today we're moving into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog pose. but we will do it with the feet wide apart. So have the feet as wide as the mat. Now press the palms down, lift the pelvis, and go with the pelvis up towards the ceiling as you're pushing with the arms the floor away from you. Not forward, but down to the floor. And then move the top of the thighs back until the heels lower down. Press the palms down, engage the top of the thighs, and move your way towards the legs. Like in Uttanasana, release the back of the head down. Press the palms down, move the elbows away from the floor. Engage the legs, the top of the thighs, pushing your body weight towards the back of the mat. So the body weight is moving to the legs. Now bend the knees to the floor. Bring the feet together, knees together, and sit on your heels. Again, take a moment if you need to. Now for the next pose, you bring these blankets back. If you don't have blankets and you have blocks, you can use the blocks. We're moving into Upavista Konasana, seated pose. And this will be the last pose of this part of your practice. So you sit on the blankets. Some of you might not need any blankets, depending on your flexibility. Or just one blanket might be enough. Have the feet wide apart. You sit at the edge of the blanket and you can place your fingertips on the floor to support you. Lengthen the spine, lift the sternum. And again, moving the elbows out while you keep the front of the chest open. Now you want the top of the thighs to be engaged, pressing down to the floor. And observe here that the inner thighs are moving down to the floor and the outer thighs at the same time. So if you see your knee is not rolling in and is not rolling out, and the toes are not rolling in and they are not rolling out, both the knees and the toes point up towards the ceiling. From here, you feel from the inner hip extending to the inner knee, and from the inner knee out to the inner heel. And from the outer foot, you're coming back into the hip socket. Lift the arms up and lengthen the spine. And again, observe if you're leaning forward at the front edge of the sit bones or you're leaning back at the back edge of the sit bones, and find the center, the crown of the sit bones. Exhale, release down. Take with the arms, with the palms, the inner side of the knees. Bring the bottom of the feet together. Allow the knees to rest down and lift up. And then bring the knees together and straighten the legs one by one. So to start off with, press the fingertips to the floor and lengthen the spine. Now separate the feet a bit with the toes pointing forward. Lengthen the spine and allow the sit bones to be heavy on your support. I'm still using the two blankets to raise my hips a bit higher. Now from here, allow the knees to drop out, and with the palms, take the ankle and bring the foot close to the left foot close to the left inner hip. And then take the other one and bring it in. Now you have the bottom of the feet together and the knees out to the side. With the fingertips, press the floor down, lift the sternum, move the elbows back, open the front of the chest, keep the chest and the collarbones nice and open and allow the elbows to move out. Press the feet together and from the inner hips, the inner top thighs extend out to the knees. As you do that, you will feel the knees lowering down, but don't press the knees to move down. It's like you want to move the knees out to the side. Breathing in and out, pressing the feet together, especially the heels. And then you bring the knees together and we move into the next pose, which is Adho Mukha Virasana, briefly, and then we move into Adho Mukha Svanasana. So you have the big toes touching, the knees are a bit apart, enough for the ribs to rest on the inner thighs. Keep the hips heavy on the heels as you walk forward into Adho Mukha Virasana. Place the palms down and you press the palm down and do it in a way that you can feel the sternum lifting up. Gaze forward, lengthen the spine, allow the hips to move down to the heels. The top of the thighs are heavy, pressing the ankles down to the floor. And then exhale, release and rest the forehead on the floor. Press the palms down, move the elbows up and away from the floor, lengthen the spine, engage the top of the thighs and inhale, come into tabletop, tuck the toes with the feet hip width apart, lift the hips up, lengthen the spine, move the top of the thighs towards the leg behind, towards the wall behind you, or if there is no wall, just engage the top of the thighs to move your body weight from the arms to the legs. Opening the back of the knee, the back of the thigh. Allow the head to drop down, to release down. Now exhale, bring both knees to the floor. Big toes touching, knees are a bit apart. And move back into Virasana. Hips, pelvis is resting on the heels. Inhale into tabletop, tuck the toes, exhale into down dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana, lengthen the spine, release the head down. Engage the top of the thighs. Move the top of the thighs back. Extend the inner heels back and down to the floor. And release the head. Walk forward. Separate the feet as wide as the mat. Press the fingertips down and lift the sternum forward. Lengthen the spine. Engage the top of the thighs. Straighten the legs. And then exhale, bend the elbows out to the side. Hug the elbows and release the head down. If this is not comfortable to you, keep your fingertips down or move and get your chair Rest the forearms and the forehead on the chair, on the seat of the chair. You want to feel rested here. It's actually, you try to find some ease into the pose. While you don't want the pose to be easy, you want to find ease into the pose. So you find, how can I make the pose work for me so it's not super relaxed, that I can sleep in it, but it's not too difficult that creates tension. Bring the fingertips down, lift the chest forward, gaze forward. If you feel that you need to bend the knees here, please do so. Otherwise, engage the thighs, engage the legs. Bring the hands into your hips and come up without allowing the hips to move forward or backwards. Join the feet together and stand in Tadasana. Moving on. We're now moving into Viparita Dandasana, but this will not be a normal one. We will go a bit more light, because remember, we're doing this pose to relax the nervous system, not to create more tension. So while we want to feel the poses and we want the asanas to have the poses to have an effect on us, we still want to do it in a subtle way. So for the next one, you will need your 1 or the 2 blankets. If you find that you're quite stiff at the top of your body, the top of your torso, just 1 blanket will be perfect. If you have more flexibility, you might want to use 2 blankets, because this will make the blanket thicker. So what we're gonna do is try to create a noodle with the blankets. So you roll the blanket and you create a big noodle. You place the blanket like this, like so. And now you want to sit at the center of your mat. And you want to come down to the blanket, and you want to feel the blanket just behind the heart. So the blanket will be just below the armpit, yeah? And the head will be on the floor. Now, some of you here might need to have an extra blanket close by. If you only have 2 blankets, then use just 1 to go down. So I will show you the pose. Before you go into the pose, take a moment and then you try it. I will give you time for both. So you're sitting on the center of them, and then you roll to come down. You want the elbows to touch the floor at the same time. Then slide down, find where the blanket is, and if you need to slide further back, rest the head on the floor and then straighten the legs. If you find that the chin is too high here and you feel the back of the neck compress, this is where you need the extra blanket to lift the head. To come out of the pose, you bend the knees, you roll to the side, and then you press the top arm to come up. And your hair will not be the same. Okay, so are we ready? So create your noodle, choose if you want to have 1 blanket or 2 blankets, and you can try, and if you want to change it when you're in the pose, you can do so. The first time you're trying this, then you have every right to change and go back and forth until you find what is working for you. Okay, if we are ready, sit at the center of your mat, slide down, feel with the blanket is where it should be, somewhere on the end of the shoulder blades and at the and then below the shoulder blades at the same time. Open the arms out to the side, straighten the legs, and keep the toes pointing up, which means that your legs are somewhat engaged, so you're not collapsing with the toes pointing out. You might find here that it's nice to close your eyes. Observe if you're creating an intention on the throat, the front of the neck, and allow the throat to move back and to release down. We're still here. Now slowly bend the knees. Extend the right arm up. Roll to the side. Press the left hand on the floor. Come up. Move the prop to the side. To move on into our practice, we come to sit on the center of the mat. Bend the elbows and bring both elbows at the same time on the floor. Slide the elbows and lie with your spine on the floor. Bend the knees. Press the arms down. Inhale and exhale. Press the feet to lift the hips up. And slowly bring the arms behind your back. Interlace the fingers. Extend the fingers to the heels. Lift the sternum. Move the sternum to the chin, but don't bring the chin in. Allow the chin to be relaxed, the throat to be relaxed, and press the feet to lift the hips higher. You want to feel that you're opening the front groins, the front hips. And exhale, release. Of course, if this is the first part of your practice, if you're just starting now, don't push so much. We're gonna do this 3 times, so you have time. Every time you will push a bit more, and you will push a bit more. If you continue your practice, again, every time you do the asana, you will increase the effort. But
Again, do the pose with no tension. Increase the fat and lift the hips. Move the arms behind your back. Press the palms down and press the outer shoulders down. Lift the hips up. And then exhale, release down. One last time. Inhale, press the feet. Exhale, lift the hips up. Move roll the shoulders out. Move the arms in and out behind your back. Interlace the fingers, extend, press the feet and lift the hips up. Now release the arms, bring the arms overhead towards the ceiling. Breathe in and out. Turn the palms to face the legs and then bend the elbows and bring the arms by the shoulders. Move the elbows in, press the feet and lift the hips up. Then release, fingertips up towards the ceiling. Exhale, lower the hips down. Bring the arms by your side. Roll to the side. Press the left arm and come up.
Now we will move into camel pose, Ustrasana. So if you have sensitive knees, you might want to open your blanket and place the blanket on top of your mat so it's a bit softer. If you do so, please make sure that the knee and the toes are on the blanket. You don't want to have some of the part of your legs on the blanket and some not on the blanket. Now from here, bring the thumbs just above the sit bones, quite a bit above it, just below the sacrum actually, and move the flesh of the skin down to the floor. Press the shin down to the floor, the big toes down to the floor, point the elbows back and lift the sternum. Inhale here, lengthen the spine, lift the side body, go back into Ustrasana, pushing the hips forward, pressing the shins down, the toes down, and then come up. Okay, we will do this 2 more times. Same thing, with the thumbs pressed down, the skin of the buttocks, lift the chest, elbows back, and lift up. Pushing the hips forward, you try to keep the hips over the knees. You can allow the head to drop back, or you can keep the chin in as you feel more safe, and then release down. Now, we will repeat this, but some of you might feel ready to move the hands on the heels. You don't have to. You can stay on phase 1, which is exactly what we did before. So, place the thumbs, press the skin down, lift the chest, and push the hips forward, press the shins down, lift the chest, and move your head back. You can stay here, you can straighten the arms and lean back to find your heels. When you do and find stability, lift the chest up. Lengthen the spine. If you feel safe, you can drop the head. To come up, leading from the chest, come up and sit on your heels. If you don't try Ustrasana and this is your first time, be conscious. You can choose to skip this pose altogether. This video is for you that you usually come to the practice, to my classes, and you know how to do it. Yes? I might create maybe a video in the future that is teaching you how to do it if you haven't tried it before. So we move the props to the side. And we repeat the pose we did before. So, lie on the mat, bend the knees, press the feet down, lift the hips, roll the shoulders under, and stay in the pose, breathing in and out. Make sure you press from the feet. Exhale, release down, roll to the side. Come on. For the next and our final pose, you will need to fold the blanket in the longest part. And if you have a second blanket, add also the second blanket. So you fold it. And this is the shape you're creating. Then you bring this the length of the mat. Now, for the next pose, if you have bricks, I suggest that we use them. If you don't have bricks, take pillows, normal pillows from your couch and bring them close together, close here. So before you move into the pose, you can take a moment and watch where we're going, and then I will give you time to go into the pose. So first thing you do is make sure that you have the support of the blanket 1 or 2 centimeters away from the back. It's fine if the prop is against your sacrum, but some of you that you're taller than me, you will not have enough blanket to lie with your head on it. So you can keep some space. I don't have problem. I can go all the way back. So now, first thing you do, you keep the pillows or the bricks close by, and then you lie down on the blanket, on the support. Make sure it's comfortable, make sure that the head is on the blanket, and if you feel that the chin is too high, add an extra pillow or a blanket for your head so you have a straight spine and the forehead is a bit above the chin. Then bend the knees and drop the knees out to the side so the bottom of the feet are touching. Place the blocks or your pillows on the outer thigh. Palms up and relax here. So I will come up so you can observe the setup. So this is the setup. The blocks will be somewhere around here, the outer thighs, and this is the support for the spine. And if you're ready, sit in front of the support, lie back, Supta Bandha Konasana is the name of the pose. Palms are facing up towards the ceiling. Some of you might be feeling very nice if you place the palm on your belly. It's giving you some kind of safety, security. Do what is helping you to relax deeper into the pose.
Place the palms on the outer thighs, outer knees, and with the help of your arms, bring the knees together. Now roll to the side. Place the hands on the floor. Come up.
Thank you. Be well. Stay safe.